Meeting called to order at 7:01. Can we have someone adopt the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion by Councillor Meister to adopt the agenda. Any additions? All in favor? Adoption of agenda passed. We need an adoption of the regular meeting minutes from December 13th, 2021. Can we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from December 13th as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Zimmer. Any further questions with that? All in favor? Motion passed. Moving on to delegations. Number 1, Greater Metro Hockey League. Dr. Derek.
My name is Derek Prue. I'm the Executive Director of the GMHL West Junior A Hockey Division. And yeah, thank you very much for letting me speak to you here today. A little bit about our league and our division. The GMHL actually stands for Greater Metro Hockey League. So in the last 18 years, the league has grown from the Greater Metro Toronto area across Ontario and into Quebec. So 3 years ago, we started up the West Division. So our protected area is actually the Western 3 provinces. So far, we've been concentrating, in kind of the northern Alberta as our original footprint, which has grown into BC, where we'll be in the, kind of the north, in the northwest there, and we're excited to look at locating within the footprint of Clearsome moving forward. So. Yeah, like I said, we've been around 3 years. We're expanding the market really for what we offer in Western Canada is still quite untouched. In Ontario, there's 5 leagues like ours, and all of them kind of follow our academy model, which is turning out to be really something special here. Junior A hockey, I guess, what is it? Some people are familiar with the model and what it brings, and others aren't. So I'll just give a brief overview on that. Really, Junior A, the big difference, from maybe Junior B or senior hockey is the players are full-time athletes. Many of them are also still students. About a third of the team will be high school age, and the rest of them will be 18 to 20. Our players come from around the world. We on average in the league is about 6 Europeans, and we have several players from all across Canada and the United States as well. So it's players that are wanting a full-time program. And for them, it's it's hopefully not the end of their hockey career, but a stepping stone to the next level. So that's really what we're here for, is to make sure that these young men are getting developed on and off the ice, and opening opportunities for them to move forward. So since its history, in the 18-year history of the GMHL. They have sent over 900 players to every level of professional and collegiate. Last year, our division sent 19 players. So that's really the smell test for junior hockey. Are you giving these guys the opportunity to get to the next level, and are you, getting them the skills that they need to kind of get them there? So we look typically for an hour and a half of ice daily. We take what's considered a lot of times as dark ice, so anytime from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The guys will be on the ice every day, and then we are primarily a weekend-only league. So the academy model that we follow is kind of based on the NCAA or European Pro model, where we play 42 regular season games, so 21 home game dates, primarily on Friday and Saturday evenings is kind of what we typically look for. And we play a few less games than some other leagues out there, but we find The players get developed, better. The coaches love it because they've got 4 dedicated days every week where, they don't have to worry about travel, don't have to worry about injury. We find it's really a good way to develop these young men. As far as the development, like I said, there's on the ice and then there's off the ice. So a big part of what we do and successful junior A programs, the players really become a fabric of the community. They'll be out shoveling walks or volunteering. I think all of our teams this year have the Snow Angels program where on the way to practice they get out the shovels and there's a area to sign up on their websites for people with disabilities or senior citizens that maybe aren't able to do it themselves. That's just one example. The guys are pretty much every day doing something in the community, and that's good for them too. We want them out of their comfort zone. A lot of these guys haven't had the chance to do a lot of public speaking, mentorship, that type of thing. So they'll be on the ice with minor hockey, but we want them to get off the ice doing other things in the community too, whether it's with sponsors or in the community with leadership, all that type of thing. So it's really a full program that's geared towards getting these guys the best opportunity and the best chance and experience. As far as a community, the players all live in billet situations. So even though they're, they can be up to 21, they aren't living on their own. There's a zero tolerance code of conduct that all the players sign with their contracts. Zero drug use, zero drinking. You won't see them out in the local bars or anything like that. So it's a pretty well-oiled kind of machine that we have going, and like I said, these guys are not really looking to do those extracurricular type things anyways, because they're here kind of for a reason. But a lot of times, the billet situations is that works out really well. They become part of the family. A lot of the guys, they'll stick around even during the off season. You'll have a few guys in each of our locations that get a job during the off season or whatever. So that's kind of the Coles Notes version of the junior A hockey and in our program. As far as next steps, I know you've had a chance to review the presentation there earlier. We typically don't come to communities looking for capital investment or anything like that. We simply look once we've kind of vetted the community that meets our demographic needs and the rink size and all that stuff. Then really the next step is to enter into lease kind of discussion. We really look for, the big one is a private, dressing room, because the guys are there pretty much every day, several hours. There's several ways that we've worked with communities in the past to make that happen. So that's one thing that you need at the junior A level, just because they're there every day. They need a place for their gear, training, the trainer, training staff, and all that stuff. And then really just the term, the ice time, like I said, an hour and a half, and the 21 games. And that's from September to March. Usually we're done by April with playoffs and everything, so it's stretched out. From an ice scheduling standpoint, the schedulers usually like the fact that we can set our schedule very early, whereas typically you've got all the ice users kind of coming at one time, banging on the door, but we can lock our dates in quite early, and that makes it a little bit easier for them. And other than that, we look for the ability to gain an AGLC license to sell alcohol at our games. We don't typically go after concession revenue because normally the facilities will already have something in place with a user group or a minor hockey or a nonprofit, something of that nature. So that's really the big ones. We're hoping to get 3 teams in the footprint of southern Alberta, and and start operations there. So that's really, I think, hit the high points. I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you might have for me.
Thank you so much. It's very loud, sorry. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Kettles.
Hi, Derek. Just some question what your local business structure, ownership structure, GM structure would be. You're proposing, you're talking 3 potential centers here in the south. What does that typically look like for your organization?
It takes a lot of different forms. We, to look at expanding with the demand that we have, we typically we have a good idea of what we need our lease template to look like. So typically we come, negotiate the lease, and ultimately, if there's local partners or local owners that want, or even outside ownership groups that come as the process moves forward, that's our highest and best. We don't want to own all of the teams, but we do come in, start, and if we have to retain ownership, we can. Right now on our 7 teams, we only have ownership or partial ownership of 2 of them. So typically we come in, get the ball rolling. We know what it takes to be successful, so we do all the things from name the team contests. We start the season ticket drive. As far as the GM and head coach, we pull from a pool from really from around the world. There's a lot less paying jobs for coach GMs than there are really high level guys out there. So we do have a good stable of people that can run our organizations, and typically they are full. Obviously, not typically, they are always full time. That's their job, that's their livelihood. So they would relocate to town and all those sorts of things.
Any further questions?
Well, I don't want to monopolize, but I can keep going.
Keep going.
All right. You talked about facilities. We have 5 dressing rooms in our arena. One of them is probably a bit more advanced, and the other ones are just typical dressing rooms. It used to be a dressing room for our senior team. It's, like I say, a little bit more advanced, but it certainly is dated and would need, some work, I think, for your standards. But I'm not sure if that's something that the town would be interested in pursuing on its own. So, what kind of partnership things are looking at there, or what typically have you got involved with for your, for this dressing room?
Sure. We again, it takes a lot of different forms. We don't come with huge expectations. We would like to have the ability to renovate. Sometimes we work together with the community. Other times the community, since it's a capital upgrade, we've had instances where the community, we work with them, but the community pays for it. But we come kind of prepared to do, whatever we need to kind of get it to the standard. And, junior A, it doesn't, we've got some brand new, state-of-the-art dressing rooms. We've got other ones that are like more of the old senior barn style. But the guys, as long as it's big enough and there's enough stalls, honestly, and we have the ability to do, some things that the GM might want to do to kind of spruce it up a little bit, or give it a shave and a haircut or a paint job. A lot of times that's all it takes. But there again, we would work with you on what that would look like. And also, I guess I'll throw in there that 5th dressing room is nice to have. So when you're in the greatest need of the dressing rooms, typically the team will be out of town because we're going to be working around each other's schedules. So if the team is out of town for the weekend or whatnot, they can make that available if there's a tournament, or let's say the midgets want to use it and that ends up being kind of cool, because then they're, they go in and they feel pretty special going in the junior A locker room, and usually there's the the quotes on the walls and the stick rack and stuff like that. So we've found that that's pretty a good got a good win-win in some of the markets.
Thank you. Anyone else have any further questions? Councilor Stockberger?
You mentioned 21 games. Is that home games?
It's a 21 home game regular season, so sometimes there's preseason games. Usually we just work with municipalities on that, how much ice time there is or when they're putting the ice in. A lot of times too, like really if there's no, depending on what the community has in place, like if there's no preseason, for example, a preseason hockey school or conditioning camps, skills camps, a lot of times there's an absence of those in communities where we move to. So we offer that too as something that could be a value add. If they're not there, then we just work around and book training camp ice. There's usually no more than 2 preseason games, and then playoffs again. It really depends on how far you go, but playoffs typically we don't start them till March, so ice is usually a lot easier to get because minor hockey's winding down by that time that we hit playoffs.
Thank you. Councilor Stockberger?
Have you actually looked at our arena?
I personally have not, but Brad Morgan, who's been our point of contact, has been there several times. He was a head scout at the WHL level for over a decade, so he's been in just about every arena you can think of. So he had a personal knowledge of it, and also checking out whatever else was available. But certainly in the near future, we'd want to conduct a site visit and that as well.
Further questions? Councilor Kettles?
Hi. Talking about referees for your league, because it's not, a Hockey Canada sanctioned league kind of thing, or is my understanding of such. We have a fairly limited availability of senior referees here who could ref at a higher end midget, perhaps your games, I don't know. But how, probably we're talking more linesmen and so on. How do you work between the fact that, these linesmen probably aren't really supposed to work in non-sanctioned leagues?
Well, that's not really the case. I know that there was a kind of the rumor mill out there, but I would say 80 or 90% of our refs ref Hockey Canada simultaneous to us. So that really, that's really a non-issue. As far as how many good refs there are within the community, we can pull. I mean, we have, I think each team pays about $6,000 in ref just in travel. So there, we would be, it's not. I would say at most of our games, there's at least one ref coming from a couple hours away. So we don't need. I mean, if there's enough local refs that are willing to work with us, then that's our obviously what we would prefer. But if not, we pull refs from all over, and they can do Hockey Canada and hockey, non-sanctioned, happens all over the place. I mean, even HSL now, I think they've got 140 teams or something across Alberta, non-sanctioned, and all their refs are doing Hockey Canada simultaneously. So that was a little bit of a like I said, a bit of a rumor that we had to, I guess, cross our first year, but it's been done so many times now that it's not really an issue any longer for us. I guess I will just touch base on for our refs do have to all get certified through GMHL. There's a course there's a disciplinary committee, and our refs actually operate outside of the league, which pretty much any junior A league is like that. So there's the pretty formal recruiting training that they do go. So it's a value add for the guys that do come, because a lot of times they're not getting, maybe they're doing the junior A or the WHL as a linesman. This gives them the opportunity to come in as a head ref. So they're, it's a good opportunity for some of the officials to get that higher level officiating as well.
Thank you. Councillor Kenneth.
I guess one last thing from me. I was wondering, I was just reading, I see Gibbons is a fairly new franchise for you guys up in the north. I'm just wondering if you'd be able to provide some community references either there or somewhere else, so that as a community we could get some sense of, is the business being run well? Are the bills being paid? Is the team, able to maintain and float and do financially the things that you're talking about?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I think we've got 2 recent mayoral letters of reference from our new teams as well, so I'd be happy to pass those along to you, in addition to some contact names and numbers.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Councillor Clarison.
I just had one question, similar to Councillor Kettle's. On a sustainability model, what would be your ideal number of season tickets or ticket sales in order to make it a sustainable franchise within Clearsome?
Usually we look for, if we can get that 200 mark, that's very good. We've got, we really do have a big range of season tickets versus walk-up. In Enoch, they have almost no season ticket holders, but they do well at the gate every game. So, again, it's kind of community by community. Our target is usually, 150 to 200 is kind of what we aim for.
Any further questions? Councillor Schlossberger.
You mentioned liquor sales. Do you provide security in the arena for liquor sales?
Yeah, we sure do. Per AGLC guidelines, we have to have one per 50 at our events. So, all of the people that are serving have their Pro Serve. All the security have their Pro Tech, and there's pretty extensive. I don't want to say training, but we have the people in place well in advance and kind of let them know what the expectations are and all that good stuff for sure.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any further questions?
All mine have already been asked, so.
I have a few questions with administration, but I feel like I can follow up at a later time for that. Nothing else to add? Well, thank you so much for joining us and explaining a little bit more about your hockey league, and I think for now we just have a few things to discuss amongst council, and then we can get to contact with you at a later date.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, bye.
We can move on then with Rowan House, Safe at Home. Nara Fedosy?
That's right.
Welcome.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Nara Fedosy, and I am the program director for Safe at Home. So Safe at Home, I just want to share with you what the program is, and I'm really looking forward to having the word out there so people know what this resource is. It's available and free of cost to clients as well. So Safe at Home is a pilot project. It's a 4-year pilot project, which is funded by Wage, Women and Gender Equality. So it's funded by the federal government. And the goal of this program is to end domestic violence. So it's the first of its kind in a rural setting in Canada. At the end of this pilot project, we have committed to our funder to provide a blueprint with all our learnings and recommendations in terms of best practice. There has been quite a few organizations across Canada who have been in touch with us and looking forward to learn more about what we are doing, how we are doing, and how it's working. So quite promising. So the way we propose to end domestic violence, it's a little bit different from most of the programs that are available out there. So historically, most of the programs available are for people who have been experiencing domestic violence, who are trying to flee domestic violence. What we are trying to do with Safe at Home, what we are doing with Safe at Home is actually providing the tools and skills for folks who have a history of perpetrating abuse towards their intimate partner. So they have either a history of perpetrating abuse or unhealthy relationships, unhealthy behavior. So the program has 3 different phases. So phase 1 includes what we call transitional housing. So the man can actually, and I'm saying men, not saying that abuse can only be perpetrated by men. It's just the way the program is funded today. And it's based on statistics that the majority of the abuse has been perpetrated by male. So the first phase of the program includes the transitional housing portion. So instead of those individuals who have been experiencing the abuse are being the one leaving the house with the children, they can stay safe at their place, at their home, with their children, while they still can go to work, they still can attend school, they can be close to their formal and informal support. And so while the male comes to our program, comes to the house, and they receive psychosocial education in addition to case management as well. So the psychoeducation portion will cover a range of things, the power and control will, so what abuse is, how we become abusive, and really focus on really focusing on being taking responsibility for a healthy behavior and really gaining some tools towards healthier relationships and healthier behavior. So some of our clients who come to the house, they are either working towards going back to their home, to their family, and some other clients are actually moving on, and they wanted to have those skills towards different future relationship. But a lot of the clients are really want to make a difference and be better for the family, so they want to go back. In some cases that works, some other cases don't. So that's not the purpose of the program, but definitely will be a bonus in some cases. But again, it's the premises, the primary premise of our program is to end domestic violence, and it's really focusing on safety of the client, of the family, and the community as well. So we have been working really closely with our CMP. So with that being said, we have asked them to run some stats. So we have been open since March this year, and from March to last year, and from March to September, end of September, we have had a number of cases of 1,400 cases within the rural setting here in Alberta. So the cases are out there. So the program is pretty much for male who are 18 plus, from low to median risk. So when they apply to come to our program, we run some assessments with them, and the reason for that, we want to make sure that the level of risk is manageable for the staffing model that we have within our program. It's going to be safe for the other clients, for staff, and also for the community. Other assessments that we do also are related to mental health, to addictions. And the reason why we do that, we want to make sure that clients who are coming to our program, they're stable enough to take the most benefit from the program at the point in time. If we see through those assessment tools that the client may benefit from additional services prior to engaging in enrolling into our program, we would make recommendations, and we are connected with a range of services and supports out in community as well. So we would make those referrals and work with the client to get the best benefit for them. So the first phase includes the transitional housing. It's a minimum of 4 weeks that they can stay at the house. We work with them where they're at. So if they need to stay longer, so for instance, some clients may be during a transition phase in their life, and they might be looking for permanent housing. That will be something that we would work with them through the case management portion, and we could potentially extend their stay as well until they secure the permanent housing or long-term housing as well. So then they move on into the second phase of the program, which is it's an online portion of the program. So they can either return to their home if it's safe to do so, or they may have secure a long-term housing at that time. So within that phase, we do address another 10 different topics on domestic violence and coercive control. Again, so what are the impacts of this on the individual, on the family, and really focusing again on taking responsibility for those actions, for those behaviors, and really learning some tools and skills to move forward into a safe place and to healthy relationships again. We talk about boundaries, we talk about power and control, we talk about we talk about how effectively communicate with your partner, etc. So we continue with the case management through that portion. Some clients who are unable to come to the house, or if they feel that the house is not something that will work for them, some of the clients are really far away from us. And in those cases, we do have the second phase of the program and also the third phase of the program as an option for those clients as well. So if the coming to the house is not an option for some clients, they can still join the second phase of the program online. We are trying to minimize barriers as much as we can for clients. So another thing that I like to address is for some folks who may be concerned about confidentiality and other people knowing about the business. So the program is completely confidential. We abide by privacy and confidentiality legislation and regulation, and just as any other nonprofit organization. And we are very committed to that with the clients. So if there is anybody concerned about this, I just wanted to address. The other thing that I wanted to address is, so it's really focusing on the safety of the whole family. And we try to do this through a very holistic approach. So when clients apply to come to the program, they are required to sign a release, a consent for us to speak to their partner. So they give us the information of their partner and decide a consent. So we work collaboratively with Rowan House Outreach team. So that team works with the person who has experienced the abuse themselves and the family. So what they do with the information, they contact the family, the partner, to do safety checks. They do at least 3 safety checks with the family. And on top of that, they would work with them and through an education portion as well, the psychoeducation piece, making sure that they know how to do safety planning, that they are safe, making sure they understand what abuse is, what the cycle of abuse is, understanding that they know the signs, and if there is any legal matter, if they need to apply for EPO, for example, emergency protection order, they work with them with all those matters as well. And the case management portion just is the same. If they need to move to a shelter, if there is a higher risk right there, they will also work with that in anything that they might need. Mental health supports, physical health, all those kind of things would be included with the case management portion. And then going back to Safe at Home, so the last phase of our program, it will be also online, and it was designed based on feedback from our clients. So when they finish the phase 2 of our program, they're really, really feeling that that was the first time actually that they had the opportunity, a safe space that they can actually open up and discuss some of the matters that they have been going through for so long. And many of our clients, actually 100% of our clients to date, with a history of perpetrating abuse, they actually have been a victim themselves of abuse at some point in their life, or they have actually witnessed abuse to somebody who was very close to them. So with that being said, we work with community resources as well to provide them with mental health supports, emotional support on that regards. And in that sense also, it's important to note that a lot of clients who come to our program, they have a sense there is a problem there, but they don't have a sense of the scope of the problem. A lot of those things actually that they perpetrate, a lot of those behaviors, they see as a normal part of life because they have seen that as they were growing up. So within our program, we go through all the details of how it works, how they got there, how it got there, and how to go back, how to be safe, and how to have a healthier relationship per se. So again, so the third phase of our program, we will continue to provide the case management portion, so making sure that all the basic needs are being met at all times, so they can really focus on developing some of those skills and tools as well. And it was designed, again, based on the feedback of our clients, so they really wanted to continue to have those conversations with other people who are experiencing the same. A lot of the guys come to the program and they say, I never had an opportunity to discuss this with a friend or with anybody else. So what we do, we kind of use a TED Talk, and we go back to some of the things that we have learned throughout the phases of the program, and we spark some of those conversations. But that third phase of the program is kind of similar to a meeting format. So the clients are the ones actually leading those discussions, and we are there to mediate and facilitate the discussion as well. So that there is this opportunity where they are coming back and they are discussing some of the tools that they have learned that they're applying, and discuss how well it's working for them. And they also give each other some feedback on that. If it's something that's not working for somebody else, they can give some tips on how things work for them as well. So the total of the program, so first phase, it varies from 4 to 8 weeks. The second phase, it will be 10 weeks. So it will be once a week, one module per week. And the last phase of our program, we connect with the clients once a month. So the total of the program is up to 52 weeks. And that's Safe at Home. Any questions for me?
Thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions? Councilor Schlossberger.
Nara, it's Brad Schlossberger. We have a residence in town, correct? Transitional
Sorry?
residence. A transitional residence in Clearsome. Right?
Yes, that is correct.
Can you tell me how many clients have gone through that residence?
So we have had 4 clients going through the transitional housing portion, and 35 clients going to the online program so far. And we have been open since March 2021.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have one question for you as well. Do you have a percentage in terms of what your success rate is with this program?
So I think it's early to say in terms of, we haven't had a client who has finished the whole program yet. So we are definitely tracking data. The feedback from clients has been really positive. But I think in terms of success, in terms of if there is any reincidence, those kind of things, it's hard to say at this point because we are too new.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have
The
any?
other thing is that we do some surveys with clients, and we have some measurement tools that we do use, and we have seen changes in terms of behavior for sure. It's just in terms of reincidence, those kind of things, it's early to say.
Wonderful, thank you. Does anyone have any further questions? Well, thank you so much for joining us and explaining a little bit more about the program. We appreciate it so much, and yeah, once again, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everybody.
Have a good night. Are we able to move on to action items? All right, action items. Number 1, bylaw number 1733, BMO operational borrowing bylaw. Second and third readings. Abe?
We had first reading of these bylaws in December. And both of these bylaws, bylaws 1733 and 1734, are back on the agenda for second and third readings. Normal process is to review these bylaws every year. Bylaw 1733 is for a $450,000 operating line of credit. We currently don't have any funds drawn on that line of credit, but it's there to ensure, in case finances get low, we have the ability to borrow and keep up the business of the municipality. And so that bylaw is, as I say, on the agenda for second and third readings tonight.
Everyone had a chance to review this? Are we able to have a second reading? Motion by Councillor Schlossberger for a second reading. Any discussion with this? Question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to give bylaw number 1733, the BMO operational borrowing bylaw, second reading.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passed. Are we able to have a motion for a third and final reading this evening? Motion by Councillor Clarison. Question?
Moved by Councillor Clarison to give bylaw number 1733, the BMO operational borrowing bylaw, third and final reading.
Any further discussion with this? All in favor? Motion passed. Moving on to action item number 2, bylaw 1734, AMSC operational borrowing bylaw, second and third reading. Abe?
And this is a bylaw that approves the town to hold credit cards with MasterCard, and the limit is $50,000. Again, on the agenda for second and third readings.
Everyone had a chance to review this? Can we get a motion for a second reading?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councillor Meister. Question?
Moved by Councillor Meister to give bylaw number 1734, the AMSC operational borrowing bylaw, second reading.
Any further discussion with this? All in favor? Motion passed. Are we able to get a motion for a third and final reading of this? Motion by Councillor Kettles. Question?
Moved by Councilor Kettles to give bylaw number 1734, the AMSC operational borrowing bylaw, third and final reading.
All in favor? Motion passed. Moving on to action item number 3, correspondence. Honorable Rick MacGyver, Minister of Municipal Affairs, Provincial Education Requisition Credit Program. Abe?
Correspondence from the Minister of Municipal Affairs regarding the Provincial Education Requisition Credit, more relevant for rural areas, not necessarily very relevant for us in Clearsome at all, but over the past few years, municipalities have been having difficulties collecting taxes from some oil and gas companies, and the province has passed legislation that makes it easier for municipalities to collect those taxes. Additionally, municipalities have been able to apply for credits for the education portion of those taxes. And so it doesn't really affect us in Clearsome. It is information that came our way, so we pass it on to you, though.
Any questions in regards to this? Able to take it for information then? Great. Moving on to action item number 4, correspondence. Brownlee, LPP, Merging Trends and Municipal Law. Abe?
So Brownlee has education sessions called Emerging Trends once or twice a year. This one looks like it's coming up on February 10th in Calgary. There are two options to attend. You can attend in person. Additionally, there's a virtual option if you're interested. And traditionally, I believe we sent 1 or 2 people, members of council who are interested. The items they've outlined here, their agenda is employment law at the time of COVID, privacy and freedom to information issues, how to manage legal matters, municipal tax powers, conflicting fiduciary obligations, and a couple other items. If anyone from council is interested, we do have a budget that we set aside for these kinds of things, and we can register you.
I'd be interested.
I'd be interested in attending virtually.
I would be interested in attending in person if possible as well.
I would also be interested in attending in person.
Okay, just get a motion for that, eh, Green? Or is that good? Okay, okay, all good?
You don't need a motion for this? All right. Any further discussion with this? All right. Moving on to correspondence number 5, Voice of Albertans with Disabilities. Meet the new advocate for persons with disabilities. Abe?
Looks like there is an invite to attend a virtual meeting. CEOs, mayors, and councillors to meet and greet. There's a new advocate in the province for persons with disabilities, Greg McMeekin, sorry. The date is January 11th, tomorrow, 2 to 3. If you're interested, just encourage you to click on that link, Eventbrite, and register yourself. Get the link.
Wonderful. Any questions in regards to this? Take it for information at this point. Moving on to action item number 6, correspondence, Clearsome and District Chamber of Commerce, 2022 Clearsome Trade Expo and Consumer Fair. Abe?
The Trade Expo and Consumer Fair is coming up. The town usually books a table. This is the early advanced kind of notice. We get to book the same table that we did last time. Friday, January 28th from 1 to 8 p.m. and Saturday, January 29th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Clearsome Community Center is where the event will be held. And traditionally, it has been members of the council that have represented the town at the Trade Expo. So we do have a sign-up sheet here for you. We'll pass it around. and fill it in, and if you can't make it, we'll find some members of staff to help out as well. We get two per time slot.
I nominate you.
I'll be there.
I happen to have that day off work. How convenient.
It's a good chance to get out and to rub shoulders with a lot of locals, with the businesses. Always a good energy in the room at these events, and to interface with the public. So,
Are you looking for any motion of any sort in order to go ahead and book this?
Yeah.
Yes. Would anyone like to make a motion? And do you have a specific, sorry, I see that there's a number of booths here available. Is there one that we traditionally pick that we go with in terms of the full booth, the market table? Is there something that administration had in mind?
full booth is what we usually do.
Yeah, just had to see what it was.
Amanda will know which one we had last year.
Are we able to get a motion then to go forward with the full booth? Motion by Councillor Schlossberger. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to support the Clearsome Chamber of Commerce Trade Expo and Consumer Fair on January 28th and 29th, 2022, with the purchase of a full booth in the amount of $233.75.
Any further discussion with this? All in favor? Motion passed. Moving on to action item number 7, correspondence. Porcupine Hills Classic Cruisers, RE, the 30th Annual Show and Shine, August 14th, 2022. Abe?
So the Show and Shine, the Classic Cruisers is looking for approval from council to use the Centennial Park Ball Diamonds for their 30th anniversary for the Show and Shine. As you said, August 14th, 2022. Usually a really good activity to piggyback onto the fair days. So if council's in favor, we'd just like a motion to approve that.
I would like to make a motion to allow them to use the Centennial Ball Diamonds on August 14th.
Any further discussion with this? All in favor? Motion passed. Moving on to number 8, request for decision, Clearsome Art Society donation. Abe?
So we are looking for a motion to approve making a donation to the Clearsome Art Society. This money is actually coming from the Community Foundation. The Community Foundation can't give it directly to the Art Society, but they can give it to us to donate. And so that's essentially what we're looking for. This was part of an initiative from the Community Foundation called the Random Acts of Kindness Day. And I believe the group just solicited, asked people in the area to recommend groups for a $500 donation, and so it looks like someone recommended the Arts Society, which is pretty awesome, and the money will be much appreciated from that group as well. So,
Any questions about this? Are we able to get a motion?
I'll make the motion to donate $500 to the Clearsome Art Society for their 2021-2022 production of The Music Man.
Motion by Councillor Meister. Question?
Moved by Councillor Meister to donate $500 to the Clearsome Art Society for their 2021-2022 production of The Music Man to come from funding received from the Community Foundation of Lethbridge and Southwestern Alberta.
Any further questions or comments in regards to this? All in favor? Motion passed. Moving on. Moving on to request for decision, Grantham FCSS agreement.
So we've been assisting the MD of Willow Creek with FCSS services in Grantham by an agreement for a couple of years now. The agreement has expired, but we're looking to renew that agreement. There are some small changes to the agreement that we're suggesting. We're looking to do a bit more programming in Grantham, and so we've amended the agreement to allow us to charge for administrative time while we administer that programming. And a renewal of, a contract renewal of another 2 years as well. By and large, the programming will still run out of the office here, but occasionally there will be some programming, coordinating volunteers, assisting with the tax program that will happen in Grantham.
Everyone had a chance to review this agreement? Any questions in regards to it? Councillor Kettles?
Abe, just, you mentioned there's maybe going to be some additional charging because of the programming. Who will be charging, the MD or individuals, or what does that look like?
It'll come out of the FCSS funding that we receive from, we receive funding from the province for the service in Grantham, and it'll come out of that funding.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further questions? Are we able, can someone please make a motion in regards to this? Motion by Councillor Kettles to enter into the attached agreement with the MD of Willow Creek. Question?
Moved by Councillor Kettles to enter into the agreement with the MD of Willow Creek number 26 as presented to administer FCSS programming and funding for the hamlet of Grantham.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Motion passed. Moving on to request for direction, Recreation and Programming Assistant. Abe?
So we did just pass an operating budget, and there was no room in it. However, Denise has put together, Denise Spencer, our recreation manager, has put together a potential part-time position in the summer months that would assist in an area of need in town here, and assist to coordinate programming, to draw attention to the facilities that are used and what can be done to review our programming, to review our equipment needs, and to just basically a general assistant in the recreation department. The cost of that position would be about $12,000 a year. Denise is only interested at this point in proceeding if we can get the federal Canada Summer Jobs Grant, which would cut that financial obligation down by about $4,000, so to about $8,000. The reason we're asking for this now is the deadline for Canada Summer Jobs is January 25th. And our thoughts were we could present some of Denise's ideas for programming, enhancing programming, and if we get the go-ahead from council that at the very least that they'd be interested in talking about this further as we discuss budget further, then what we can do is go ahead and we are already going to apply for Canada Summer Jobs for some summer positions, and we thought we could throw in an application for this position as well. And even if we were successful, we wouldn't have to accept it and incur the whole cost of this position. We would ultimately bring that back to council as we talk further about the operating budget. As we know, there's still some question marks with the operating budget in terms of requisitions and expenses and revenues. But additionally, we wanted to talk about this because in the future, next year, Clearsome is tentatively scheduled to host the Canada Summer Games, and certainly for Southern Alberta Canada Summer Games. Southern Alberta Summer Games. Okay. I'll get that right. I will get that right. To host the Southern Alberta Summer Games. Get the word Canada out of there. And a position like this for games like that would be invaluable. And so we, at the very least, wanted to get this on council's radar. And we've attached a job description along with the case for this position that Denise has prepared. Thoughts from council? Any interest in having us throw an application in for this, or at this time not interested? Bring it back for next year.
Any comments with this?
Well, I think seeing as how we don't have to, we can apply for it, and then we can always just discuss it and see if we can make it fit. If we do get accepted, I guess it's not, we're not tied to it kind of thing, so I think we should apply myself, just to see, and then have budgetary talks about it later to see if it's even feasible to do this year. If it is, great. If it's not, well, that gives us a year to plan for next year for Southern Alberta Southern Games.
Any other comments? Councillor Schlossberger.
Yeah. I agree with applying for that program, but I'm not sure the proper fit is this.
Councillor Kettles.
Councillor Schlossberger, could you expand on your thoughts? I think it's just not this program that they're applying for anyway. It's a number of other ones, but this would maybe be one. So I just not completely understanding your thoughts, sir.
I don't think Clearsome requires an assistant recreation director.
That's quite a bit clearer. Thank you.
Any other thoughts? My thoughts on this at this time is I wouldn't like to apply for a grant that it's something that I personally don't have any interest in using this year. I would much rather take these resources and put it into a good application for next year for the Southern Alberta Summer Games and apply for the grant then and save this possible $8,000 and put it towards more items in and around that event.
Agreed.
Anyone further?
So we'll just
I was going to ask, would
Read
anyone
it.
like to make a motion to go ahead with this application?
I'll make a motion to, I just lost the word now, to apply for the grant and also have future budgetary discussions regarding said grant.
Any further discussion with this? Or questions, sorry.
Just one question along that same line. How much work is it to apply for the grant? Is this somebody's half a day doing this, or is it just a little quick thing?
As we said earlier, we will be applying for other positions. We apply for this grant every year. It will be a bit of extra time, but it won't be particularly onerous. It's just about how many positions we apply for within the grant. Adding an extra position is going to just mean we have to fill in the information on what the job is, what hours it'll be, what kind of role they'll play. So it's not a lot of extra work.
Just waiting for the question of your motion.
I would, yeah.
No.
Oh, I was just going to say it'd also be nice, too, that if it does work, and it is there, with Southern Alberta Summer Games being quite busy. I know it's not this year, but somebody to at least get their foot under them. You're not kind of thrown to the wolves at the beginning of the year where here's your assistant, green is green, good luck kind of thing.
Is there, sorry, one further question now that we're talking. Is there a way, if we were to be successful with this grant, is there a way to defer it into the 2023, as we do with some others?
No, there wouldn't be. It would have to be used this year. But again, we wouldn't have to do it. And there are budget implications as well, right? So
And we do apply for this every year?
we do.
How many years have we been successful with this grant?
I don't know. We weren't successful last year.
Okay.
I know that much.
Yeah, I would hate to be successful and then turn around and decline it. I feel like that would take away our odds for the following year, but.
And again, if we were successful, we would use it for an existing, a returning position. The gardening position that we have, mowing lawns, we would use it. So we would definitely take some of it. And if we were also approved for this position, and council didn't want to, we would say no to that, but we would still be using the other position or two that we're applying for.
Okay. Do you stand by your motion still?
Yep.
Councillor Zimmer, do we have a question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to direct administration to apply to Canada Summer Jobs for funding for a recreation/programming assistant position in a part-time capacity, and for council to discuss this issue further.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Those opposed? Defeated. Motion not passed at this time. Moving on to financial support, statement of operation, September 30th, 2021. Abe?
Yep, this is for council and public's information on updated income statements and financial information. Well, updated as of the end of September and then the end of October as well. And we'll need motions to approve both.
Any discussion with this?
I'll make a motion to adopt the income statement for September 30th.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to accept the consolidated statement of operations for the month ended September 30th, 2021, as presented.
Any further questions or comments? Councillor Schlossberger? Oh. All in favor? Motion passed. Thank you. Moving on. Oh, sorry, did I skip? Oh, no, statement of operations. Sorry, number 12, statement of operations, October 31st, 2021. Abe?
Same as previous item, except October 31st. Any questions or conversation from council on this? If not, a motion to approve it.
Any questions? Motion by Councillor Schlossberger to approve. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to accept the consolidated statement of operations for the month ended October 31st, 2021, as presented.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Motion passed. Moving on to number 13, information brief, enabling accessibility fund notification. Abe?
Just a notification, the town submitted an application for the Federal Enabling Accessibility Fund. We weren't successful, and that was for accessible work done at the Kinsman Park. The fund required over $350,000 worth of accessible portions, and though we did include pathways and playground bases and ramps, the group felt that it wasn't applicable. So that So the lighting and the ramps, they'll require further funding in order to proceed in 2023. We were hoping that this grant would pay for some of that work. Just general information, we'll continue to try to find funding for this project, these portions of the project.
Any questions in regards to this? Take it for information at this time?
Yeah. And additionally, the portion of the project that is moving ahead in 2022, which is the playground area, we had applied for some rubber accessible base. That won't be going through. We'll have to go with a wood fiber fill instead. So,
The wood fiber, the ones it's, what is it, compacted, they say it's still quite accessible for those, is that
Mhm.
correct? Okay.
that's correct.
Any questions? All right, moving on to information brief. Council committee reports. Abe?
So this is our first council committee report. And just there for your information, council, on the meetings that you've attended. Any questions, comments?
I suppose with it being December, all my meetings were postponed until the new year, considering they were all supposed to be near Christmas time, so thank you, Councillor Meister, for
For the 7
submitting that.
pages of reading.
Yeah,
Did you say 7 days of reading?
7 pages of reading.
did very well with that. We'll just take that for information at this time, unless anyone has any questions in regards to this.
I actually kind of like it.
I'd like to thank Councillor Meister for holding up council's end on that.
Yes.
I'd be happy to say a few lines about the golf club if anybody wants to hear it, but we can certainly save that till I actually write it down and submit it formally, so maybe that's probably better.
Well, I'll just
Leave me, I'm blushing.
We'll all just take one and not have Councillor Meister outshine us next meeting. Moving on to, and that is the end, 16, adoption of the information items. Abe?
15, resolution status, actually.
Oh, sorry, Dennis.
And that's just,
Sorry, my apologies, information brief.
yeah, just information for council. There are tracking document on your motions that you've passed recently, progress that's been made. Any questions on anything? There are still a few in progress.
Anyone have any questions with us this time?
Nope.
Take it for information. Moving on. Motion to adoption of the information items.
I'll make a motion to adopt the information items as presented.
Motion by Councillor Zimmer. Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to adopt the information items as presented.
Any questions or comments with this? All in favor? Motion passed. Motion to end the meeting?
Yeah, there's no in camera.
Nope. No in camera. Motion to adjourn. Thank you. All in favor? Meeting adjourned at 8:17 p.m. Camera off.